What up? I'm Nick, also known as Livin' Waves. Today we're going through my entry for Andrew Huang's 4 Producers, 1 Sample challenge. Let's not waste any more time and get into it. So, here's the sample. Right. So, yeah, I'm sure a lot of you had the same thought that I had when you first heard that sample. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? But it didn't take long for ideas to start cooking up in the dome piece, you know what I'm saying? So these little percussive bits, I was like, yeah, those could definitely be like little drums or something. That could definitely be like a little clap or something. But this section, that section, I was like, ooh, that's got heat. That's potential. I could probably cook some eggs with that. So back over here, we did a little bit of work. It did all start with that little kick snare type percussive loop. Is I was like, yeah, what better way to start this than with some percussion? And it's not great percussion, but it works for what it is. Also, let me note, anything you see, any track in here that is in gray came from the original loop, the original sample. So all these tracks is because of how my project's set up and how my workflow works. Everything in gray you see came from that original sample. Everything in red I added, everything in blue I added, and everything in yellow is also added. But everything in gray was all born from that sample. And I'm pointing at it like you can see what I'm pointing at. That one right there, yeah. I have a mouse. Whatever. Okay, so I did. I started with a little loop and then I started adding some drums. Just like a basic loop. But I wanted to do something with that cool, like, melodic section. So I did. And it came out like this. What I did basically was I took a chunk of it and then warped it to be 4/4 and on time and then be a nice cool repeating pattern. I chopped it up, put some effects on it, and then also made a couple other layers to it that just add some like accentuation. Or I still don't know if that's the, when I say still, this is my second time recording this and I said accentuate and I don't think that's the right word, but it might be. It adds some emphasis on certain notes in this, but this is what it sounds pretty cool with some accentuation. Again, don't know if that's the word. Cool, but it's not a song just yet. That's when I had a happy little accident and I was messing around with that same little loop that I chopped up and made neat, and then I threw a bunch of effects on it. I threw some roar on it. I threw some weird looking EQs on there, just some extreme resonance in this one frequency like band, and that turned into this. Once I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, we got a track. Let's put this together. So I did, and I actually started with this second drop section right here, but I took that sound with the roar on it and then I bounced it down, froze it, flattened it, and then cleaned it up, probably froze and flattened it a couple more times and ended up with this. Super thin, I know that's because I'm cutting the low end and I'm adding back a sub bass a little later, and with that added sub bass, whoops, it gets pretty dense, which is nice. I like dense tracks and I like dense other things too, like cake. It's very good. So, anyways, I started with this section here. I had that main bass going. I had my sub bass added. I added some fat drums. Again, I like density. It's where's my density? Added a nice clap. This actually is from. It's just a weird, I don't know, noisy thing, but dense drums. Yeah, I can get behind that. Tight with the bass. Cool, we're on to something. I then took little chunks out of this bass sample that I had froze down, flattened a couple times, and then I made little like one shots, and here's one of them right here. Just, you see, it's like a chunk of this original sample that I froze down, and then I added some different effects to it. Again, Roar hooked me up this time. Add some different effects, some special shaping, and that gives me something like just fat and mean and nasty. I love it. This is a little reverse section of one of the growls as well, so just like the tail end or the front of one of them, I reversed it to kind of transition into the next set of bass hits in context. Cool. That all came together, sounds like this. I am leaving out one thing, this little guy down here, which I took another chunk, say, I think it was like one of these chunks right here, took that, put it down here, stretched it out. I think I may have pitched it. Let me unmute that. No, I don't think I pitched it, but I put it on tones mode, and that's what's giving me my nice harmonic content. Added a sub to it for the density, and then bounced that down. Added some more effects, some width, some shaping, processing. You know how it be, my producer friends, just, you know, the stuff. So we have that section. That was the first section I started with. Once I had that, I actually worked backwards and then went and made this little kind of intro, drop, combination thing. Starts out with a melody, gets you kind of hooked in, kind of cool. And then it just... All I did there is I took that original loop right there and then just put it into... So this right here is basically this, but this is frozen version of this. These are all the effects that went into cleaning up this. So it went from this, I'm pointing at it again like you can see where I'm pointing. It went from this to this to this to this. And that's how we got back to that. Right, and then I, again, separate sub just to clean up the low end. It did have some low end that was like decent, but I've cut it out like 4 times. It did have low end, but it was like very kind of like bouncy and like wobbling, and it didn't really sound good. So I made a sub bass, which is just a phase plant sine wave down 36. But I got this thick satty on it, which is one of my favorite presets that I've made, and it just adds some like wonderful harmonic content to my sub basses. Just makes them warm and round and just delightful to listen to. So did that, then I had this drop. Back into the melody. At this point I was just kind of playing around with the sounds. There's no real like story I'm trying to tell with the song. I'm just kind of messing with the sounds at this point. I think I already said it at this point twice in that same sentence. Whatever. Editors, you know what to do. I'm editing this. If I get selected, you'll be editing this. Sorry, hate to call you out like that, but whatever. Anyways, I went back and started playing with some of the sounds and then came up with a couple more drop variations that I just thought were freaking sweet. And going back to this sound though, I made a couple variations of it by stretching it out weird and adding sub basses in weird patterns to really create some I don't know what you'd call these, but dope fills, essentially. That's what these are down here. Again, all came from that original sample. Pretty sweet. This here is essentially like a telephoned in version of the original melody loop that plays throughout. Reason I did this is this section here is cool. It's kind of like just a write it out type beat. But then over here, I wanted to change it up and I wanted to tie it back to that original melody. So in context. Cool. I just noticed I'm doing something. I've been editing another set of videos, and I noticed somebody making filler words all the time, and they say "cool" is one of their filler words, and now I'm doing it. It's funny how that happens. So, this little tail, I use that here and here, but I stretch it out here as just like a riser reverse thing. Same, this little chunk right here, I snagged back here. Did like a little reverb throw up here and then brought it down to its own channel so I could kind of tune it and make it how I wanted it in context and use that a couple times throughout. But I just have an empty little bridge. Nothing special. But this goes into my favorite drop of the whole project. And super proud of this. Real quick, these are these little snippets chopped up, warped, and moved around weird. Just get some cool patterns. It's got this nice like hummy low end that I just love it. How it plays with the kick and the other bass going on. Just mwah. Super cool. These sounds here, I basically took, it was either this sound or this distort sound and rendered it out, pitched it like 30, 40 semitones up, and then just doused it in reverb. And I thought it came out super pretty. And in context, it sounds like this. This sound, again, same kind of thing as this. I think it might actually even be a direct copy of this, but pitched and cut up and then had some different effects put on it to make it bigger and more of a main element rather than something going in the background. That just kind of connects the two sections together. Then it just ties into the melody once again, and I bring back the original sample and some little cut-ups to as a intro, outro type situation, just to like show that that whole thing basically came out of this. Pretty sweet. Pretty sure that's everything I need to hit. Oh yeah, I got a couple chants down here that are, they're just there. Kind of hypes everybody up, you know what I'm saying? Then quick master, I just ran it through a Panx and clipped it just a wee bit. Oops. Oops. Oh, there we go. No, what the heck? There we go. Clipped it just a wee bit. Just to kind of give myself a little bit more headroom. Then I absolutely slammed it, or boosted some high ends with an EQ, cut some lows, cleaned up some stereo field, and then just, I don't know, drove it into a brick wall. I could definitely probably master this a lot better. I'm not too worried about it. It sounds cool, and if I turn up the volume really loud, no one cares. So, tight. that was my entry for four producers, one sample. Hope you enjoyed watching this. And if you want to check me out, Live in Waves, if this is just on my channel, then click my channel buttons, hit that like button over there, or if that uh over maybe they're up there or like above me like they used to be, but I don't know.